Quilters, I'm Pam Heller, AccuQuilt's cutting expert.
And I'm Erica Botker, corporate marketing specialist. We want to introduce you to the Go Cornucopia die and how to use it to make the Go Petal Profusion Throw Quilt.
The Go Cornucopia is a block on board or bob die, which means all the pieces you need to make this 10-inch finished block are on one die board.
That's right. And the die board is 6 by 24 inches, which means that it will fit with any Go cutter or studio with the appropriate adapter. Now this is a classic block that often involves paper piecing, but our die will cut a single 5-color block in just one pass through the cutter.
All right, let's take a look at this die board. So first of all, Erica, the thing we want to show people is it has the screen printed letters, right?
Yes.
That's going to really help with your keeping track of your pieces and which way they should go. So all of the pieces are screen printed. Plus, look at this. We've cut off all the dog ears. So we have specialized dog ears so that all of the pieces are going to work together.
They're going to lay out so nicely. That's right. And we've built that 1/4-inch seam allowance in, right?
Right. And there are detailed instructions on the package of this die. It's also available as a free download pattern from AccuQuilt.com. So we're going to make a 5-color block, but just think you could totally make it scrappy.
Oh, I think it would be really fun scrappy. We've both been talking about doing that.
Yeah.
So, well, let's not wait any longer. Let's get started showing everyone how to make their blocks for this amazing quilt. Now, you'll want to be sure you download this free pattern, and as always, make a test block.
Always. All right, Erica, let's show everyone how to lay their fabric out on this die.
That's right.
Now, first of all, there are detailed instructions on the packaging, right? But you can download the product page from the website.
Yes.
And it has that super cool coloring
It does.
page,
It
right?
does. So we want to be sure and do that.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the shape. So this is shape B. We only need one.
Right.
So we're going to put one piece of fabric here.
That's right. And we've prepped all of this, but you want to be sure that you're keeping your lengthwise grain parallel to your lengthwise blades as your die goes through the cutter.
Okay.
All right.
Next is shape E, and we need 3 yellow and 2 green. And then shape A are just those diamonds.
And we've got those ready to go right there.
Yep, we need 2 colors of each. Now, this particular shapes, you can either fan fold or do like we did, where there is one piece facing up and one piece is facing down. Because those are directional shapes.
Now, I'm putting it on here, and when we look at this then, we look at this and we've got 6 layers and 2 layers. We're over our layer limit here. So what I'm going to do is just fold this corner over.
Yep, I'll hold it for you while you grab your scissors.
I'm going to snip this corner off right here. I'm still, you know, well over my shape.
Right.
But we just realized this when we started, and we don't want to go over. So we're just going to snip this right off.
Yeah, that 6-layer rule is a hard, fast rule.
It's the 6-layer law.
Yeah. All right, so look, now there isn't more than 6 layers. Now this is on a 6 by 24 die board, so you want to use a 6 by 24 mat.
There you go.
Erica, sometimes people ask, can they use that bigger mat?
Yeah, it's not a good idea, is it?
No, it's going to shift as it goes through, okay?
Right.
Now, we're going to use our Go Big cutter today, but Erica reminded us you could use any color cutter, that Go Me, the Go Big, the Go, any of them.
Which is really cool, because think about making a 10-inch finished block with your little Go Me.
I know, that's
so versatile.
So fun. Now, once it comes through, we're going to show you how to lay out our pieces.
That's right. So the first pro tip really is laying the piece, either leaving your pieces on the die board so that they're labeled with the letters there, or just laying out your block.
Right, so we're going to give it a little love and slide this mat. Static is built up.
It has.
All right, and we're just going to peel back our excess fabric. Look at how slick that is. Okay, imagine Erica trying to cut that by hand.
I was just thinking that, Pam. This would take forever. I would never make this block if I had to do that.
No. All right, so Erica, we're going to leave the pieces on the die board because, for example, this D and DR, you want to make sure you have the right
we're gonna leave this all here. That's going to be easier, and we've already got some things started. So the first thing that we've done over here is with our shape
A.
There it is. Our petals or our spokes here. And we're going to go ahead and sew 2 together. But there's a trick, right?
Yes, there's a Y seam in the middle.
There is a
here.
Y seam in the middle. Now don't be afraid of it. It's super easy. So the pro tip is you want to start at the inside tip of these, and you want to sew towards the outside and stop at exactly 1/4 inch. Now, Pam and I, we like to measure that and mark it with a little waterproof marker. We sell them at AccuQuilt.com.
Erica and I are both fans of marking that 1/4 inch intersection before we sew.
Yeah.
And we find that we get our best results that way. And like Erica said, we carry these fun little markers at AccuQuilt.com. And so Erica, let's show them how to mark their pieces.
That is a great idea.
Okay, so I'm going to come right here with that Y seam.
And I know a lot of people will eyeball that, but we really like marking
I do like to mark it. And I actually at home have a smaller ruler that seems to work better than that.
All right, so we would sew the 2 A's together. So we're going to go ahead and do our 1/4 inch seam allowance right here.
And it's super important, quilters, that you have a good 1/4 inch seam.
That's right.
And we're not going to press these open yet, right?
Right, we're going to wait. And that's the other thing we want to do. When you get to that point, I want to back up and reinforce that point. Because you don't want that point to come undone when you're putting in your Y seam. That would just be awkward, right?
Right.
And then you're going to have a mess on your hands.
And you've seen sometimes projects where people didn't do that and that little stitch or two came out.
Right. Now we're not going to press this open. We're going to hold off until we do our Y seam.
That's right. And now you need to make all 3 units that look like this one.
So we're going to construct this block in halves. So kind of, we're going to do the top half and then we're going to do the bottom half. This is going to be part of the top half.
Perfect.
Now we need our little corners to go around, and those are going to be 2 of the F pieces to a piece E.
Excellent.
And those F pieces are right here. There are small triangles and they're going to go to the Y. Keep in mind that these are 1/4 square triangles. So you want to keep the lengthwise grain to the outside.
Right. Now you have one that's kind of sewn already. Shall we just add the last
so
F to it?
let me add that one. So here I've got this one already started.
Perfect.
I'm going to add this one over to this side.
Great.
And this is where those notches come in handy. Look at that. Look how perfectly that matches up on both sides.
And then from here to here is that perfect 1/4 inch seam.
Yep.
And you're going to need 3. So again, we're going to chain piece, right?
Yep. And really for your first test block and maybe for your first couple, you might want to just do 1 block at a time just so that you keep yourself straight.
Yes.
It really goes together so much easier than you think it's going to.
Yes.
And then that's a seam that you can go ahead and press open.
Right.
And we're going to need 3 sets like that.
Yes. Perfect.
Next, we're going to sew the D and the DR onto that E with a Y seam.
Yes. So see, look, this is why we had some fabric facing up and some fabric facing down. And you want to hand me the others and I'll create the block on the other side.
All right. So again, this is where we would go ahead and lay this out and mark
I can do that.
our 1/4 inch seam. And we're going to be making those 2 units.
And exactly the same way, right? You're going to start, you're going to stop, you're going to back stitch.
Exactly. Yep. And that back stitch really is important. Now, you put the other piece on just exactly like it was.
Right.
Okay. Now we're ready to sew that seam. And this is so easy. Pull it out of the way. We can see exactly where our stitch is. So we're going to start here and sew right up here. And we're going to get our perfect seam that way. And we're going to need 1 of these for each corner of our block. And again, I like to secure that with that little back stitch.
Right. Okay, now, Erica, there's different ways of pressing a Y seam.
There are.
Okay.
There are.
So I'm actually going to press the bottom part open towards the Y seam.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start right here. And I'm going to come and I'm going to press towards this Y seam. Right? And then these Y seams, I'm going to just press down.
Perfect.
Okay. And you'll notice, quilters, that it kind of goes naturally that way.
I think so too. Now you can also press them open.
You can.
We pressed all of these open. It's a little harder. You can also press them all the same direction.
Right, I have done that. So
but
there.
This gives you, this gives you a stronger point of intersection.
And look how good your Y seam
Look how
is
good
there.
that is.
All right, so now that we've started to create our block, the next thing is we're going to sew these corner units into these petals here.
That's right. So we're going to start and get that started. Now we're going to start on the outside. We're going to go from the outside in.
Correct.
And I'm going to go from the outside right down here, and I'm going to pull this out of the way. And you can tell right where your 1/4 inch seam is going to be.
Yeah, so you don't have to mark it.
So you don't have to mark it, but what you might want to do, you know what I'm going to do, don't you?
I know you're going to put a pin.
I'm going to pin a pin because it's going to remind me. Sometimes I do pins just to remind myself.
I do sometimes too.
Stop here because I'll get carried away.
And I'm going to tell our viewers to make sure that they mark all their pieces first.
You know, it is a good idea. You are absolutely right.
You're just going to save so much time.
So what we've done is sew up to here. Now I'm going to flip it.
Yep.
And I'm going to do the reverse on the other side.
And you notice, quilters, that we don't press until we're all done.
And again, we're pulling this fabric out of the way so that we can sew straight down.
And I do love the colors of this Cornucopia block, but you could totally change the colorway. You could make it scrappy. You could use AccuQuilt and create a completely different colorway.
I love having it in the fall colors like the sample that we've got in front of us, but the colors behind us, these bright colors, are so fun.
I think I would never have thought to do that.
I wouldn't have either. I think Cornucopia, and I think, oh, it just has to be fall.
Right, it has to be browns and oranges.
That is really not the case at all.
So look at how good you did there.
Look, so there's the first one.
Yep.
We're going to sew this other one. The next step is going to be to put those 2 units that we've created together. And now it's really going to start to look like our block, right?
It is.
Okay, so we're going to put that together. And 2 things to watch for. One is that you want to match those seams up.
Right.
So we're going to start here at this end. And because Miss Pam pressed us to the side, I can nest those seams. Isn't that cool?
See, there's something about that.
There's something about that we just love. Now we're going to sew up to here.
Mark it for you.
That's going to be a 1/4 inch seam.
And I do love that tip about starting from the outside, working to the inside.
Now we've got our center.
Ta-da!
Ta-da. Oh, there was my pin.
I was going to say, wait.
Wait, there's a pin. Okay.
Look at that.
And
ta-da.
so now we're ready to go ahead and put in this centerpiece.
This
so we're not going to pin that one yet, right?
Right.
Here again, we've got those notches. They're lining up just perfectly for us.
And we know where to stop.
We know where to stop. We know right where to stop. Okay, now we can again go ahead.
Yep.
Focus here. And we're pulling this fabric out of the way. And that pin will remind us just where we want to stop.
Excellent.
Okay. There we go. And that's going to be that whole
Look at that pretty top part
of our block.
Look at how great that looks. All right, Erica, so what's next in our block construction?
So earlier I mentioned that we're going to build this like it's 2 halves, a top and a bottom. So the bottom half then would be put together the same way. We've got a bottom half that's put together. So here we're going to put our petals on, and we're going to leave our 1/4 inch marks here and here.
Okay.
Then we're going to put our petals on here, and again we've got Y seams here, and sew those on either side. So we've got this unit. Now we're ready to go ahead and sew the top to the bottom so that we can do the last 2 sections, which are going to be those side pieces.
Excellent.
Okay.
So this is shape C, and shape C, again, you need a left and a right.
You do.
So we made sure our fabric was, one was facing up and one was
up and one down, so that we get the proper alignment with our bottom shape.
Right. Now these, are you going to leave a 1/4 inch here as well?
Yes.
Yes, because you're going to come here and make the Y seam.
Absolutely, you
Excellent. All right, so you want to sew that top to the bottom?
Okay, so we're going to sew the top to the bottom.
Do you want me to give it a little press?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm already pressed here. Again, this one shows all of the seams pressed open. There are so many different ways that you can do this, quilters. It's whatever works best for you. Pressing open or pressing to one side.
And I do feel like sometimes the block has a natural tendency to go one way or the other.
You don't want to fight it, because that's when you have
Don't fight
issues.
the fabric.
Don't fight the fabric.
There you go.
All right, so again, we're putting together a top to bottom. That's going to put these two petals, if you will, or same colors together. But again, there is such a thing as scrappy, and we do love it, right?
We do love scrappy. We do love it.
So we're going to make sure that we're lined up here. I want to line up my center. And if you want to cheat and check,
oh, I always cheat and check.
I always cheat and check too.
Yep,
we're going to be
put
right
your little
there in
pin
the middle.
there.
That's why we have them. And then again, we're going to start from that 1/4 inch down.
Yep.
And then on this one, we're going to start from a 1/4 inch down and end a 1/4 inch down.
Yep, go for it. Now, I would tell quilters that this is like an intermediate block. It's probably not the first bob die you want to use.
No, you don't want to use this one for your first one. Again, it does have Y seams. They're not hard. They're not something to be scared about, but they are something that is a little bit more advanced skill.
Right.
And when you're first getting started, you want to be sure you're getting, or when you're teaching somebody,
right,
you want to be sure that you get that nice sense of accomplishment.
Right. But if you can sew a 1/4 inch seam, you can use our dies, because we totally add that 1/4 inch seam allowance, and all the pieces are going to come together perfectly.
They are. Now it looks a little funny, but we're going to square it off so that by putting our two sections on either side.
Look at how fun this is going to be. And again, we don't need to mark this one because we're starting from the outside, working towards the end, and we already have a seam in there. Now, Erica, when I was doing this particular, when we were testing this die, I actually made 2 blocks at a time, so I could just kind of chain piece.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'll do that, especially once I make my first test block. Then I feel a little bit more confident doing that sometimes.
Right. And don't forget, if this is your first time sewing a Y seam, just take your time and you can do great. And don't forget that we have a video available at AccuQuilt.com and on YouTube that Eric and I just spent the whole video talking about Y seams.
Yep, we did. Very useful, and they open up a lot of design possibilities for you.
They do. They do.
All right, now we're going to do, again, we're going to flip over. We're going to pull this out of the way and just remind ourselves where we're stopping.
I always feel like our blocks go together faster because there's 2 of us doing them.
I think they do. Pull my pin out. Okay, I secured my seam.
Right? So this is that first E and F.
This is that first E and F right there.
Oh, look at how great that is.
And then the other one would go on the side just the same way.
Yep.
And then this is what
look at this
our
block.
finished block is going to look like.
Ta-da.
Just exactly like this.
Ta-da. It's just amazing. So it makes a 9-inch finished block, is that correct?
10-inch finished block, and there's 9 of them in our finished quilt back there.
Oh, excellent.
So it would be really quick and easy. It would be a really good way to practice the block and really get your feet wet with it.
Right.
And a great way to practice those pros. You're going to be a pro by the time you're done with these blocks.
You are.
Absolutely. Now to finish this project, you'll be sewing some sashing between the blocks.
Right.
And some cornerstones between the rows. And it, I think, really sets off
it
the
does.
blocks in
It
this
does, because
pattern.
they're not put together, okay? And then layer your finished top with your batting and your backing and pin or baste, and then quilt it. Finish off with your favorite binding technique, and ta-da, you're done.
You're done.
All right, quilters, we hope you enjoy making this beautiful quilt and many others with the Go Cornucopia die. Don't forget, we'd love to see the pictures of your creation. You can share them with us on our Facebook page.
We'd love it. Be sure to tag us with hashtag AccuQuiltBuilt when you show off your creations on social media, because at AccuQuilt, we're here to help you cut time
so you can quilt more.